Hello guys and welcome back to the Gcor show. I know it's a little bit late as I'll be doing predictions today for the main series, and I know I'm cheating a little bit, but you know what, better late than never. So without further ado, let's get into the video. The first half of the video will be like the Gcor main series, the F1 series, with the second half of the video being the GT series. So should be good trying this new format, but yeah, now let's get into it. Starting off with predictions this season. Let's start off with the drivers standing predictions, and I'm gonna run through the bottom half faster than I run through the top half. As with the bottom half, we don't really know what to expect if we haven't seen those drivers race as much, or they haven't looked spectacular or anything, so yeah. In P20 I've got Silver Arrow, the new Aston Martin driver. Obviously we haven't seen him race. P19 we've got Mojo, we've seen him race a little bit. P18 we've got Bezzy. I actually think Bezzy would finish a little bit higher, but I'm not quite sure how often he'll be racing. He'll be in that Sauber seat, and I'm not quite sure how good that Sauber car is. It looked decent in Cyrex's hands in Japan, but yeah. In P17 I've got Morgan. Again, I've not seen too much from him. I think actually I saw him a little bit in, was it pre-season? I think. And he had decent pace, so expect him to finish higher than P17. P16 actually, now this might be a little bit controversial. I've actually got Skin Dog in that Red Bull. He's been saying that he's been struggling with the Red Bull car a lot, and I mean I think he got P9 in the first race, so a couple points, decent. Suzuka, but again, it's just about how often he'll turn up and whether that Red Bull will obey him or not. P15, we've got Crazy Mac. Crazy Mac again. I actually think Crazy Mac will do better than P15. I think he's loyal. I think he's going to be turning up quite often. Thing is, you see, Crazy Mac I think is one of two drivers actually on this current grid as permanent drivers to be doing double duty in both the F1 series and the GT series, so it depends which one he kind of prioritizes. I'll be speaking a little bit more about Crazy Mac a bit later in the GT series half. P14 I've got Domi. Domi is much faster than P14, but again, how often will he turn up? Latastic, now this one's controversial. Latastic's a rapid driver, but a couple things I saw from him last season which made me kind of consider was whether he can handle the pressure of fighting for a decent haul of points, maybe even podiums, and how often does he make the end of the race. I remember at the start of last season he made a few mistakes, major errors. He crashed a few times, but on pure pace I think Latastic at some circuits, I mean obviously how could we forget that drive in the wet? I think it was at Coda. I don't remember if it was the feature race or the sprint race, but yeah, he was flying through the grid, and then it became dry, and his pace just disappeared. So really, with Latastic, anything could happen. Don't be surprised to see him finish, within the top 6, but equally don't be surprised to see him finish where I've put him in P13. Now we're getting to the bigger names of Gcor, I guess we could say, because this season is such a competitive Gcor grid. Last season was a decent grid, but it wasn't as competitive as it is this season. As Kylian Mbappe once said, very, very competitive. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. But yeah, P12 I've got Cyrex. Cyrex has been P12, and again, proven race winner, a driver that on his day, I don't know about now because obviously last season he took a break, and I think that's the thing. The drivers who took a break last season, they're going to be struggling a lot this season. Because of the new cars. The cars are so different from the 23 model to 24. Driving styles may have to be adapted, if not completely overhauled. It's all really about unlearning things from 23 and now learning new things for the 24 model. So we'll see how well Cyrex can adapt to that. In the first race he seemed alright, I guess, but yeah, had a little moment with Gcor, went wide at the first Degna, and really that kind of killed his race. I think he ended up finishing P8. In P11, I've got Gcor. I've got Chiconas not even finishing in the top 10 of the championship. The reason I say this, Chiconas is struggled a lot. Pre-season was atrocious in every sense. Round 1, qualifying actually, he impressed. He impressed in qualifying. P6, he's never been a good qualifier, but with a grid so competitive, I think P6 he would have taken that. Mercedes would have taken that. In the race, he finished P6. However, it was, you know, not his best race. He made errors, multiple errors. 3 to be exact, although because we had the safety car, I think actually, well, the first error that he made was kind of overhauled, you know. Could have been a P4, could have even been a P3 on another day, I guess, but I think Charlie's pace was too much. The McLarens were good. We'll speak about the McLarens a little bit later. So yeah, I think P4 definitely was doable for Chiconas. P6 he'll be disappointed, but I guess it's his first race with the comeback. Really, it's so hard trying to judge where Chiconas' head is right now and where to expect him. You know, obviously Chiconas, that name is synonymous with winning Grand Prix and fighting for championships. You know, at the very least, getting a multitude of podiums. You know, just look at the records. But this season, for him to even get 2 podiums, I think he'll be lucky. He'll be very, very lucky. So yeah, we'll see how it is. We'll see how it goes. Yeah. Chiconas P11 with Gibbo in P10. Again, Gibbo last season I think he finished 5th. I need to check that again, but I think he finished 5th. And yeah, again, he's not a P10 worthy driver in the championship, but it depends who else turns up. You know, Gibbo's been improving a lot, and consistency is what got him his P4. I mean, he made one mistake in the race at Suzuka, but apart from that, he was flawless. You know, so I think he'll be happy with that. P10 in the championship. It sounds a little bit low, especially, you know, recently Gibbo's been, you know, in the top half of the standings. I think he's always actually finished in the top half in his career. I'd have to, again, check that again, but as I said before, it depends about the drivers ahead of him, what they're going to be doing and how often they turn up. P9, I've got Marshy, a driver last season who came from nowhere and just started, you know, he went on a mini streak where he was just up there, getting pole position, winning sprint races, winning feature races, and we were thinking maybe he's going to be the next man to dethrone Hurricane. We come up to race 1, and for most of the races he's battling with Chiconas. He finishes P5, which I guess is alright, but if you want to be fighting in a championship, especially against a guy like Hurricane, you know, top performances every race are going to be needed. There's another driver I'm going to say the same thing about a bit later, but I think pure pace, Marshy's up there. Consistency, I think Marshy will turn up. I think he will turn up, but just that consistency. He struggled with the car, he said, at Suzuka. This weekend at Australia, I think he will give us a better look at the Brit. P8, I've got Ollie Freeman. I think Ollie Freeman won't have anything as good a season as last season. I think a lot of factors will contribute to that this season. Obviously, a new chassis, a whole new, you know, setup for Ollie Freeman, so he's going to have to get used to that. Mechanical issues have plagued him and Williams so far. You know, we saw in pre-season Ollie Freeman having, you know, really bad problems, you know, reliability-wise. Race 1, both Ollie Freeman and Smudge are forced to retire because of reliability. So I think Ollie Freeman's got the pace to finish top 5 in the championship, but whether that car can obey him, I'm not sure. I think last season, another difference from last season to this season, as I said, is how good the grid is. You know, I think last season, Ollie Freeman went on a little, again, just like Marshy, went on a little streak, and that was the thing. That's how Hurricane became world champion last season. Drivers went on mini streaks, whether it was win streaks, pole streaks, whether it was just, you know, streaks of good form. I mean, Matt, there was a time in the season where he was in good form. Ollie Freeman, Marshy, Charlie Dewar. I mean, Charlie Dewar even won at Singapore. I know Hurricane got disqualified, but Charlie Dewar was in red hot form. But nobody was able to string out, you know, good run of form throughout the whole season. I mean, I remember at Spain, even Domi could have won. Domi could have won at Spain if he just had DRS enabled for another 30 seconds or so before the rain started, and DRS got disabled. So yeah, no, definitely. I'm not saying nobody can challenge Hurricane. You could argue there are a couple drivers on this current grid who are faster than Hurricane. But what he has right now is that consistency. I'll speak more about Hurricane in a minute. Obviously, this part's about Ollie Freeman, but yeah, I think Ollie Freeman P8, and I think Midget Matt P7. Same kind of reasons as not even different reasons to Ollie Freeman. I think Ollie Freeman on pure pace, I think he's faster than Matt, but I think Matt's more consistent. You know, I think Matt's is going to be able to be in and around the top boys more often. I think pre-season showed that the Ferrari was working really well in Matt's hands, and I think with F1 Nathan alongside Matt, I think Matt will learn a lot. He will learn a lot. I know F1 Nathan's, he's going to be, he's a rookie this season, but he's got experience from other racing series, so that'll definitely help. Matt knows F1 Nathan, so I think that chemistry will also help Matt to do well. And again, P7 might sound low, but the drivers I've got on this list, if they turn up, could be ahead of him. Smudge, P6, rapid guy. Smudge is so fast, you don't understand. I remember back in the 23 model, Smudge was rapid, honestly. Once Smudge took the lead, he would run away with it. Qualifying, same thing, man. I think Smudge actually only has one win in Gcor, which is an understatement to how fast he actually is. But the thing is with Smudge, whether he'll be able to finish a whole entire season, I don't know what it is, but Smudge always ends up leaving midway through. So I guess Gcor is like a drug. He just keeps on returning back to Gcor, but that guy definitely has pace to ruffle it up at the top. He definitely has pace to win races, to get pole positions, to fight with the big boys. So yeah, and alongside Ollie Freeman, I think those two are going to have a good partnership. How well they work in terms of chemistry, I'm not quite sure, because obviously they kind of tried it out at McLaren, Ollie Freeman and Smudge. It didn't go to plan as such, but obviously that was I think 3 seasons ago now, isn't it? Time flies. So yeah, they're trying it again now, and at different environments, so we'll see how it goes. P5, I've got F1 Nathan. That guy showed immense pace in pre-season. Obviously, pre-season's pre-season. Some teams may have been sandbagging. Some teams may have been trying new stuff. We don't know fuel loads, how much earth drivers were using. We don't know any of this, man. But F1 Nathan he looked quick, he looked confident, and again, putting a rookie this high up is risky. As I learnt with Milan, when I said he was going to become season 5 world champion. Milan, back in season 5, when I said he was going to become world champion. But yeah, no, Nathan, I think he's shown good signs so far of confidence, of a driver who's capable of having a good Gcor career, and really we'll see where he stands. P4, I've gone with Charlie Dorr. In terms of pace, I actually think a couple of these drivers are faster. I think Smudge, I think F1 Nathan, yeah, I don't know actually. I don't know about F1 Nathan, but I do think Smudge. But again, Charlie Dorr, consistency, and as I said, I've cheated a little bit because I was actually meant to do the predictions before round 1. But what round 1 taught me is that even though Charlie Dorr struggled in qualifying, finishing, well, I think qualifying was at P8 or P9, somewhere around there. And you're saying, oh, I don't like this track, the car just doesn't work well, maybe it's the setup. And, historically, it's not been too bad for him. Obviously, last season we didn't have that many drivers, isn't it? So, yeah, he was definitely uncomfortable at Suzuka, but he kept the car on the black stuff, on the grey stuff. He stayed consistent, and I think that's, if he can do that throughout the course of the season, Charlie Dorr, you'll see him collect a lot of P3s, a lot of P2s, maybe even the occasional win. So, and obviously that partnership with Hurricane is synonymous now. I think it is the greatest partnership in Gcor history, and the leadership of Tyler as well. I think they all get the best out of each other, and I think Charlie Dorr will just about miss out on the top 3, because in my top 3 I've got Luigi third. I think we're going to see another kind of title fight between Hurricane and Luigi. Back in season 4, many people felt that Luigi was the deserved champion back in season 4. Obviously, Luigi missed the last 2 races of the championship. Even if he'd done one, he still would have beaten Hurricane. I think Hurricane won the championship by 2 points or something because of one of the Red Bulls getting a penalty post-race. So many people did feel that Luigi was the supposed champion, taking nothing away from Hurricane's World Championship, you know. He worked hard for that World Championship and he got it fair and square. He did nothing wrong. But yeah, I think we're going to see a part 2 to that championship fight. I think it'll be closer. I think Hurricane's improved a lot. He's not kind of relying on other drivers' misfortune as he was back then. And I think now Hurricane can beat Luigi going head to head. I'm kind of giving away my champion right now, I can't lie. But I think Luigi will be able to, you know, he's naturally quick. Luigi's naturally one of the fastest drivers on the grid. And, you know, the race at Suzuka, as I said, I kind of cheated a little bit, but Suzuka did show us that. Luigi's not gone. I think quali pace, Luigi will struggle a bit. He's got to improve on his quali pace if he wants to go toe-to-toe with the likes of Hurricane, the likes of Coward. But race trim, I think he's there. I think he's up there. I think he's wise, he's experienced, and he's sensible. P2, I've got Coward, which means Hurricane is the world champion for Gen 4 Season 2 Championship. But Coward, I think Coward at the moment is the fastest driver in Gcor. You know, I do think that. I think that pole position at Suzuka was crazy. Expect him to be, you know, he loves Australia. Expect him to be up there. Expect him to be getting pole position, sprint race win. Expect him to be fighting for that main race win. Of course, once again, expect him to be fighting for that. And Coward, I mean, really, as I said, it's just mistakes. He made a couple big errors in Suzuka, and that cost him. You know, that cost him a chance for the race win. In an interview after the race, Howard said he would have finished P2 at best because he had all the downforce, but the straight line speed of the McLaren was just too much to handle. Which is fair, I guess. But even a P2, I mean, if we're looking at championship context, he'd currently be on 18 points. If he you know, didn't get fastest lap. I don't remember who had fastest lap at the time. But now he's sitting on 7 points and Hurricane's sitting on 25. So, I mean, obviously a long championship to go. If there's any time to be making mistakes and learning from them, it's now. But, yeah, it's just going to be those small errors which kind of, you know, is Coward's downfall. Sometimes he just needs to remember he doesn't have to drive 110% every time. He's fast enough to race at 90% and still win races. He's fast enough to race at 80% and still finish on the podium. So I think that's what's going on. I think Hurricane world champion again for the 3rd time in 4 seasons. You know, Hurricane since Gen 3 Season 3 has been the most consistent driver. He's been, you know, scored the most points, got the most race wins since Gen 3. Obviously, last season was a walk in the park for him. This season is going to be a much tougher season. And you see, the thing is, when drivers kind of have an easier season, is that the season after kind of catches them off guard. You know, it happened to Ciccone back in Gen 2. Ciccone dominated. You know, he went on like a five round winning streak. If you're including sprint races, because at the time sprint races happen every weekend, 10 race winning streak. And then we come to the season after. Gen 3 Season 1 ends up only winning 3 races, losing the championship to Dino Bambino, and, you know, for most of the season he wasn't up to scratch. I mean, okay, the last 2 races he kind of, on pure pace, he was with Dino, even faster than him at Portimao, and Chick did show signs of pace. We look at times like China, Singapore, Coda winning 1. You know, there were times of pace, but generally, when you become comfortable, when you have an easy championship, it's so easy to kind of become complacent. So, I mean, we've not seen that complacency yet from Hurricane. You know, he's done race 1, he just missed out on pole position, managed to win it. I mean, there's no complacency there. But, yeah, we'll have to see how it goes in the next few races. I think Hurricane is more motivated than ever before, and I think Hurricane will become world champion. constructors wise, I've got Aston P10, their lineup of Crazy Mac and Silver Arrow. Silver Arrow, we've not even seen him once on track this season, so they're already fighting with one car in that case. And Crazy Mac, as I said, double duty. It's definitely very, very tough to do. I've got AlphaTauri in P9. None of the drivers kind of jump out at me with AlphaTauri or RB, whatever you call them, or even Toro Rosso, whatever you call them. Red Bull, I've got them in P8 with Domi and Skin Dog. I think Domi's fast enough to get consistent points, but it's whether he's able to turn up on a regular basis. P7, I've got the Sauber boys with Cyrax and Bezzi. Bezzi showed decent pace actually at pre-season test in Bahrain, but I think Cyrax will still be the lead driver. With that experience, he's got race winning experience. He knows how to deal with higher pressure than you'll be facing this season. So I think he'll spearhead that team to P7. P6, I've actually got Alpine. I think this team will be super consistent, but as I said, in terms of pure pace, I think other teams will be ahead. Teams around, I think it'll be close between Alpine, Ferrari, Mercedes, maybe even Williams. Yeah, I think Alpine P6. I think Alpine P6 is kind of like a safe option. P5, I've got the Ferrari boys. I think they're going to be rapid, but I do see the Ferrari boys making mistakes when the pressure's up. So I've got them in P5. P4, I've got the GN7 Mercedes boys, and that's solely because of carrying. It's pretty much going to be a one-man team. We'll see. This season, don't expect Ciccone to be anywhere near the top. I think next season, if Ciccone is contracted for next season, it'll be interesting to see how he fares. But Mercedes might just be waiting for the 25 model, depending on how that goes. In P3, in the standings, we've got Williams. As I said, their biggest problem is going to be reliability. Williams, don't be surprised to see them finish P6 because of reliability. But I think in terms of pure pace, P3, depending on how hard Coward carries and points differences, maybe even P4, maybe even P5 if Ferrari seem to, get everything working perfectly. With Haas P2, I think Marshy and Luigi's a very strong team pairing, but I think that team pairing of Charles Doux and Hurricane will solidify McLaren's place in being the second best constructor of all time, with the third constructor world title. That was the F1 part. Now onto the GT part. I'm going to try whiz through this. Yeah, interesting season. What did we learn from Laguna Seca? Obviously the last race that's just passed. And what a race that was. I mean, we managed to get, first of all, kudos to all the drivers who turned up. Managed to get the record grid in the GT series, which is great. GT series going up. But yeah, apart from that, what did we learn? I think the main thing that we've learned is that Chubby is well and truly a championship contender. I think he's good enough to go toe to toe with the top drivers. He's good enough to, obviously, got pole position for, I think that's the second week in a row now he's managed to get pole position. And I think that's the third race weekend in a row he's fought for the race win. Could have had the race win, small error, but really it's just those small errors that cost drivers in championships. Obviously, he's still a long championship to go with 10 rounds to go in the championship. But I mean, 9 points is the difference between Ciccone and Chubby. Chubby can still get Ciccone, and to be honest, Chubby I think has been faster than Ciccone. He was faster than Ciccone at Laguna Seca. He was faster than Ciccone at Fuji. But really, it's just that experience. And talking about experience, that leads me on to my next point. The Porsche boys, they haven't been the fastest this season, but they've managed to show the importance of experience. Experience. Many people kind of overlook it. People just look at racecraft. People just look at individual race pace. People just look at quali pace, and even strategy. Strategy gets more spotlight than experience, but this season, Genius Nature and Ciccone 75 have shown that experience means a lot. I mean, that race at Laguna Seca with both GN7 Porsches bring home a 1-2. after not being the fastest. They qualified 3-4, almost a second off, 8/10 off pole position, both cars. Really, it was just that experience not to fight each other, and fair play to Genius Nature, just playing that the safe role of just staying behind Chiconas. On pure pace, I think Genius is actually slightly faster than Chiconas. But they played it safe. They followed each other in terms of strategy. It was an easy one stop, and there's really not much else to say. I mean, apart from the start, to be honest, GN7 Porsche had quite a boring race. Apart from the start and the end, when Chubby was hunting them down, eventually passed them and made the mistake, it was really just about concentration. It was all about consistency, and as I said, that experience came in clutch. And if GN7 Porsche do go on to win the Constructors Championship and even drivers, it'll be that experience that kind of wins it over the Toyotas or Chubby and the Nissans. Another thing that we learned is the new rookie Lightning, or also known as Joseph. He's got immense pace. I mean, just about missed out on pole position in his debut. Had a big lead. I think it was like 10 seconds at one stage. There was a couple mistakes, a couple errors. Apparently he had some issues as well, some mechanical issues with his steering, almost like analog drift type of thing. But yeah, he showed brilliant pace, and I know he was on the softs whilst the GN7s were on the mediums and Chubby was on the hards, but that is definitely very good signs for the BMWs to take, and I think Lightning is definitely going to be up there for the rest of the season. And the final thing I'd like to talk about in the GT7 series is the slump in form of Toyota. They've kind of fallen in form. Start of the season they were up there fighting with GN7 Porsche, but this weekend was really quite poor for Crazy Mac and Hunter. Things just didn't really go their way. They struggled with the car. Obviously, Hunter came in a little bit late, had to start from the back of the grid. I think he actually completed a no-stop strategy on the hard tyres. But yeah, it's definitely not the best situation for Toyota to be in. They're kind of looking more over their shoulder to Chubb's Racing Nissan and looking up ahead at GN7 Porsche. The next few races are going to be crucial in terms of the Constructors title bid. But yeah, that's the Gcor show for today. Sorry it got a little bit long today, because obviously I had to do the predictions, and that always takes a good chunk of the time. That's why the GT7 part was kind of rushed. But yeah, there'll be more Gcor show content coming soon. Hopefully a bit of a shorter video with a more fairer split between the two racing series, but nah, it's fine. Thank you for being with me, and yeah, I hope that you join us in the future. Thank you and goodbye.